So welcome Aries to this reading for you. You might be Aries Sun, Aries Rising, Moon or Venus, North Node. It's really up to you. If you listen to my readings, they're timeless and it's when the reading is applicable for you and relevant for you. So as always, as many of us readers, intuitives say, you take what resonates and you leave the rest behind, because in a collective read, it's impossible for the reading to be personal to everybody's specifics. So what I always say is use your wisdom, use your own inner guidance and your own inner compass with your higher self to ascertain what's right for you here. So I'm using the Baroque tarot. I'm doing a little bit of a different format this month because it's what I was guided to do. And I'm just doing readings in the order from Aries onwards through the astrology wheel. And I really believe that some of these messages are apparent for many of us collectively, and also even possibly with this, we have Chiron, the wounded healer, the sign, the planet, of the wounded healer in Aries for the next couple of years. So what I want to say to you, Aries, with this reading is that when I first tuned in to your collective energy, your archetypal energy of the sign of Aries, there is something going on here. So if we start from the left-hand side of the picture, and we have the Nine of Cups with the Nine of Wands below it. So the Nine of Wands is always about having to go through something. It's like a rite of passage, but nines are always about cycles ending. So we go to 0, so we go to 10, 1 and 10. 1 is new beginnings and 0 is the 0 point of like creation again. So 9 is when we're really tidying things up. And I really feel like this 9 of Wands is maybe where, and it could be at a different timing for all of you. So for some of you, you could be going through this now. For some of you, you've already gone through this. Again, please use your discernment, because it's not a personal reading. Personal readings are really the only way you can read your own soul plan and where you're at energetically right now. It's the only way to do it. But I do think these readings can be great guidance for all of us. So there's 9 of Wands, which is needing resilience and courage. It's really sticking things out, and it's crowned by the 9 of Cups, which is always known as the wish fulfillment card. But it can also be like, well, this is what I want. This is what I want, and I want this to happen. And there's been an element of, I get a kind of a mixed feeling around these two cards together, which is for some of you, it's like you've been pushed to the hilt, to the point of surrender. And this has been your learning, Aries, because a little bit of a secret here, but the Aries energy can be quite stubborn when it wants something in a certain way. And it's not a negative thing. It's this, you've got this drive, you're ruled by Mars, you've got this really innate drive to get stuff done. You know, Aries is a cardinal sign. We need to remember the cardinal signs are Aries, Capricorn, Libra, and yeah, Libra and Aries, Cancer and Capricorn. These are the 4 signs. So funnily enough, you wouldn't think with the energy of Cancer that they want to be in charge, but these are signs that like to take leadership. So wherever you've got Aries impacting in your own chart and your own planets, look to where this is where you can take leadership of it, but it's how you take leadership. So this moment here of the 9 of Cups and 9 of Wands, for some people it's going to be, you've been shown how you've used everything, your resilience, your courage, your test of faith, your patience, and you're waiting for this wish to fulfill. You're waiting for it to manifest, but you're not quite there, which I'll get to more on later. For some of you, this is a reminder that you have got the endurance that have needed to take the blows. And for some of you already have gone through this and you're like, oh my God, I can't deal with anything more. But what I want to say to you is that this is the moment with the 9 of Wands where don't give up. It's like never give up and don't surrender. But what I want to say to you here is part of the wish fulfillment is to be able to let go. So surrendering and letting go, you could do a whole video on this yourself, but I feel for you, Aries, this is something that you're thinking, I don't know how to do it. or you get to that point. If you ever had something in your life where you got to the point you've like, oh my God, I can't take this anymore, and then you just let go and you almost like don't give a crap, and then everything starts to fall into place. And I feel like for some of you, this is what is being shown here. Now, not any of the cards came out reversed, but some of them came on their side, which tells me that this is guidance of, it's like this, it hasn't landed yet. It's not landed, or you need to apply something here in order for this to happen for you. So the Two of Swords is very much about not seeing the wood from the trees. So we're moving now left to right. So the Two of Swords is like saying, look, I really don't know what to do. I don't know what direction to take. And that's maybe part of your surrendering process here is acknowledging that you're strong and you've got this resilience, and you've almost like, because you are, Aries rules like the head. So it's like, you know, you can be like the mind, quite stubborn mentally and say, no, it's got to happen this way. But actually, at the moment, what this is saying is that you don't know what the way is. Because moving on, we've got the Queen of Pentacles and the Eight of Pentacles, the Four of Pentacles and the Ace of Cups. So what this is saying is there's two aces here, because we're moving on to the Ace of Pentacles. So there's a new foundation that you're being guided to take. And it's also linked to your emotional field, because the Ace of Cups is on its side. So I always let the cards fall where spirit want them to fall, because it's very indicative of what's going on energetically. It's showing you a snapshot of what's happening here. So it's like saying, look, you've learned a lot, you work hard, you've worked hard, the Eight of Pentacles, but you've got to stop holding on to the past, which is the Four of Pentacles. You've got to stop holding on to how you did it before, and you've got to use the archetype of the Queen of Pentacles, where she's very grounded and she's very, very in touch with nature. And actually what could really help you at this time is really understanding your nature and getting really honest with yourself and seeing where you get in your own way and where you can really overcome that and utilize that to create this new beginning for yourself. So there's a new emotional cycle opening up, and it could be that you've learned a lot of information. So you've maybe done some shadow work or interior castle work, I like to call it. You've gone into the cave of the wise seer, and you've looked at stuff in your life, or you're being guided to do this at the moment, and there's a lot to learn. Because the Eight of Pentacles can be about learning, it can be about work, but it's steady and it's committed work, and it's the long term. It's not the short term goal. This is not an overnight fix. With so many Pentacles energies, Pentacles energy is slower, and it's bringing in a new beginning, not only emotionally, but on the earth plane. But what Spirit is saying here is that they want you to stop holding on to how you've done things in the past. And what I really feel is that it's like, and I don't want this to sound confusing for you Aries, but there's like, yes, you can do it. The Queen of Wands is there. So it's about that inner authority. It's about the divine feminine and using your feminine wisdom. Whether you are, if you identify as a masculine, it's now time to get into your feminine energy. And it doesn't matter what gender you are or you aren't. We all hold feminine energy, or we shapeshift and we go into it. It's all part of our soul DNA. It's nothing to do with labels and wokeism. It's to do with energy. It's always about the energy, and energy never lies. And what we've got here is we've got the Magician card here. So it's about saying that the answers and the way forward with you is to go within to that divine feminine energy. Now, how you do this is up to you, because Aries actually is a masculine energy. So the thing is, you're being guided to balance out your energy here. And I really feel like this is calling for your higher self to come on board, to come online. It's like the recruitment of the higher self. And how we do this is, we do this by going into the interior. This is, it's great to have information and knowledge from external, because it can trigger us and it can wake things up in us that we already know within. And the thing is, Aries, it's about slowing down, and it's about giving yourself the answers either that you seek, or the solutions, or whatever it is that you are, your vantage point is heading towards. it's not going to come from anyone outside of yourself. So what Spirit are really saying to me here is, the answer to this is not through a partner or a somebody coming to save you. And I mean this because what Spirit do on the awakening path, and your guides and your helpers and your angels, and obviously some people are different. So like maybe our parents or our grandparents' generation, it was quite normal to be in a codependent relationship. It was quite normal to be quite enmeshed. You got married and that was it then. And which actually served a great purpose. It created in some families a strong, solid structure. Now, whether that would be healthy in today's world in relation to emotional relativity is different, because we're now in a different phase of evolution, and that means that it's more about, as Rumi says, the two trees growing alongside by side, that offers this self-development that we desire, and we can still be in relationship. So we're not looking to our partner to do everything for us, or maybe if we've been on our own and we're trying to do this alone, we need to stop the facade of thinking that we can figure this out, and we can say to Spirit, please help me with this, please help me with that. There's an element here of learning that needs to be applied, and this is wisdom. This is like wisdom learning from the soul. This is going within and communing with your higher self. And I feel like this has been the missing link, maybe that you've been asking for, is that, look, we can all get help, whether it's something that we're struggling with on a physical level, whether it's our emotions, whatever, or it's mental. So we can see the therapist and we can go into therapy, but the therapist isn't going to fix us. Really, it's going to be us. We have to apply the behavior modification that we've learned through the recovery or through the therapy. Otherwise, we're not moving on, we're not evolving. We're going to go in and sit down and speak to the therapist every week, and we're going to be like talking about the same crap every week. And the therapist will be reflecting back and saying, well, what do you think you can do about this differently, and what did you learn? And then you apply it. And then you don't just go off and then forget about it, you apply it. So it could be that there's something that's gone on for you, that this 9 of Wands, that there's been something that you've had to really take a courageous step in your life, and it might be making a change. And again, I'm not going to be subjective about this, guys. I'm going to stay objective, because it's really can be in any area of your life. But the energy is here, and the energy doesn't lie. So there's something that's being offered to you from your higher self, which is based in emotional fulfillment, which is the Ace of Cups. This is also new connections, and it's also about a new connection with yourself emotionally. You've also got the Four of Pentacles. So this is like not trying to hold on too tightly. It's about saying, look, I'm learning things. I'm learning as I go, and I'm going to apply, and I'm going to be receptive. I'm going to be receptive to everything that's available to me, but then I need to use my discernment, and this is where your higher self comes on board. Now, for those of you who are like, well, what's the higher self? This is like your soul. This is your wise self. This is your intuition. This is this slow, gentle voice within that always tells you the truth and doesn't lie to you. The ego is always going to give you the quick fixes. The ego is always going to say to you, oh, just do this and it'll get done. Instead of going out and get a job, I'll just say to my partner, oh, can you just give me this money? And then I can stay in my like little comfortable cocoon. There's not an element of, with your higher self, it will call on radical honesty, but also responsibility. So that means where we've been doing things that haven't worked, we have to be honest with ourselves. And what's really interesting with this new energy that's being available to you, which is the Ace of Pentacles, the Queen of Wands, and the Magician. And the Magician is very much how we use the alchemy of the soul. And the Queen of Wands this is like a feminine energy that is really like incredible, really fiery, but is using that energy for good. But underneath this, we've got the Page of Cups. So again, we're learning to be humble. We're learning to work with grace. We're learning to work with the flow of life. And if we do, the Chariot is overseeing all of this, which means it's going to give you forward momentum and movement like you've never had before, Aries, because your higher self is now on board, because there's only so much we can do. And I'm not saying the ego, I never ever think the ego is bad. I think the ego is part of us. It's about integration. But the thing is, whatever it is that you are working with at the moment, your higher self is calling for you to come on board, because what it will do is, no matter how many readers or teachers or therapists or experts you can go to, at the end of the day, you are the person living your life, no one else. And it's down to you to make the decision that's right for you. And no one can make that but you. And I want to say, don't fear this, because the 9 of Wands here is saying you have the courage to do this. This is where Aries' strength and ability to be assertive is really good, but you've got to do it from your wise self place. So any activities that are going to encourage connection with your higher self, exercises, whether they're yoga nidra, which is like a directed meditation. I would always do these kind of exercises with my clients in my meditation group, and they're really powerful. All these answers are within you, and they are there to be applied. This is what the Queen of Pence, the 8 of Pence, the 4 of Pence, and the Ace of Cups is. That whatever it is that you're asking questions to, that you are desiring this fulfillment around, is going to be manifested on the earth. This is what the Pentacles are all about. There are earthly life, there are foundations. It's how we do things, how we work, how we operate on our daily life. But it means not holding on. It means not holding on to what we've always known in a way. And this is where I'm going to move right down to the bottom now, to the 7 of Swords in the World. So there's an old cycle of dishonesty closing off in your life, falling away. So the 7 of Swords is like somebody who's running away with all the goods. So, this can be the card of stealing. It can be the card of dishonesty, whether it's around you or even within you. And the world is this cycle closing off, so that it's time now. It's time for this cycle to close off, where maybe if there's been any self-denial, or there's been some element of, well, that's not possible for me because I can't see it and I can't physically, see it in front of my face. So I almost want to say, Aries, that the skepticism needs to go. If somebody here has that, I'm not picking up that's for everybody, that will just be for someone, because it's about opening up your energy, because you've got this Ace of Pentacles, which is, it's like you have this in the palm of your hand. The Queen of Wands, which is you energetically, spiritually, you have the female, I don't want to say authority, but if you think about the Queen, she's holding court, she's sovereign, so she's the sovereign of her own life. So you have got the opportunity here to be sovereign, to make a sovereign decision about your life that no one else really can do for you. And I think there's something here about maybe in the past wanting somebody to come and make that decision for you, or to, it's an external source, and that's being changed around you, that it's, your abundance and your superpower is in your soul. It's not because what if your partner's not there one day, or your job isn't there one day? You are your own resource, Aries, and I think it's really tapped in, and I think it's time to use it. And for those of you with that really strong ability, you might have lots of other signs and planets in very watery energies as well. I'm picking up that some of you are that are listening, because sometimes Spirit will give you like an energy line of who's going to listen to this, and I get that sometimes. Is that, the Page of Cups is there, which is all about that watery energy. It's time to really trust your flow and your intuition, because the 7 of Swords is like saying, when you've not listened to your body or your intuition, it's manifested things in a different way that you didn't expect. And that was a bit of a surprise, because the outcome wasn't what you wanted, but the Nine of Cups is here saying you can have the outcome that you are asking for. It is going to require applying some of your wisdom and your knowledge, but this is from a much more higher vantage point. This is much more from a place of soul resonance and wisdom. It's not from just reading a book and then following what one so-called expert says. It's great to go and get, obviously advice, and obviously if you're dealing with something medical, you need to go and get that done. But then you have to weigh up your options. You're opening a business, you can go and speak to the experts, but again, that's all very subjective. It depends on you in your life and where you're at and what your needs are, what your family's needs are. What's the best timing for you will be different for somebody that's in a different, maybe a total different enterprise, or what I would say is a different commerce platform or area of work. But what I want to say is there is a cycle closing out here of where there's been denial or where there's been an area of dishonesty in your life. And again, this can be external as well. And the Chariot's above this, which means it's fast. It's fast forward movement. It's time to get on and move on. It's time to get into the Chariot and move on. And the way you do this is, you're willing to open yourself up to a new start, even though right now you might not know what it looks like. But it's about using the alchemy of your soul, the wisdom of your soul, and the knowledge, and be willing to be humble and to learn and say, look, I don't know it all, but I know if I'm willing to be opening up to my internal world and go within and not use external sources as the form of my validation and actually my soul, you'll be really, really pleasantly surprised and quite amazed with what will come through. And actually, a lot of people, when they really get on this path and they awaken, they realise that they knew so much stuff all along. And actually that can be the it's like the opening up of the presence in the early days, when you realise that we all have psychic ability, we all have ability to connect to other energies in different means, in different ways. But it's about, you get to a certain point where you've got to go in a bit more deeper, Aries, and this is the time for you to take off that blindfold off of the Two of Swords and to choose a way, because it's better sometimes to choose a way and give it a go than not try at all. So what I would say is, if you're still in that Two of Swords energy and you don't know which way to go, I would then say, right, let's get my higher self on board. Let's get my intuition on board. Let's activate this now. I'm ready to really see things. And what's great is that it will show you where things are in your life, and what it will do is it will clear everything out that's not real. And that's the bit that a lot of people they freak out on the spiritual path, because once that opens up, because you've got to do something about it, because once you see it, you can't unsee it. And it's why a lot of people will really, they'll get, I'm not saying they'll give up at that first hurdle, but that main hurdle of going in and facing the shadow is going, look, this doesn't work for me anymore. So that just doesn't work for me anymore. It's not about blaming anybody, and actually most of the time we blame ourselves more than anyone else, and we forget to forgive ourselves that we're just doing the best that we can. But what I want to say to you, Aries, is there's so much resource here for you, but it's about willing to learn and let your soul be your teacher for a wee while, and let it speak to you. Let it, you need a bit of quiet, you need a bit of rest, and none of this diversion techniques. So again, the Seven of Swords is saying, it's about, we don't have the devil here, so there's no addictions I'm seeing with this. It's just like, look, just don't be afraid to face things, because actually that's going to help you to move on. And it's going to help you to move on and deal with everything that you need to deal with, and actually really kick in some alchemy that you really have available to you that maybe some of you are not seeing right now. So I'm going to leave it there, Aries, and I hope that makes sense to you. It's it's quite a powerful reading this. So, whatever's going to help you call on board your higher self, connection to your soul, your intuition, whether it's meditation, whether it's, going out in nature, whether it's really quieting down the noise and the external distractions, this is the time to do it. So all my love, I'll speak to you soon. Take care.